Seriously, I'm going to give you free deal finding software. You find the deals, I flip the deals, and we split profits 50-50. I'll give you the free.
All right, coming on early today. I decided to not wait around until 7:30 just because, hey, I got so much to say, and I think you guys do too. So pardon me for my rough appearance. Whatever, who cares? So how are you guys doing? I mean, how is life treating you in this crazy world of adjusting? Hey, how's it going? Thank you so much for coming in. Adonis? Adonis? I don't know if I can say that right, but thanks, man. This is great. It's been a long time since I've done a live, so I am sorry for the long delay, but it's been crazy. I mean, absolutely crazy. Definitely, Hurricane Ian has been an enlightening event and kept us all really busy. So yeah, so we're gonna do this chat here and see if we can answer some of your questions if you guys have any, and certainly make this an enlightening time for you to help you guys become a better adjuster. So if you have any questions, make sure you post it. Read my description. I've got links there for the equipment that I use, to other videos that we have made over the time, and certainly there are lots of information for you guys to learn if you want to be an adjuster. So just got finished cooking a whole bunch of chicken. And you're like, what? Cooking chicken? Yeah. So I've been on this kind of a health food diet thing, just trying to watch myself as far as energy level, make sure I get my protein intake, and working out at the gym a lot. And one of the things I do a lot is eat a lot of chicken, because there's tons of protein in that, and it's really good for you, and it gives you lots of energy and helps you build some muscle. So I just got finished a whole, like 7 pounds of chicken I pre-cook, and anyway, so I'm sure you don't care about that, but I cooked a whole lot of chicken just a while over and I said, you know what, I could probably do a live tonight. I haven't talked to you guys in a while, so it'd be good to talk to you guys. If you have any questions, how you're surviving with your hurricane claims. If not, and you're frustrated and you're like, I haven't been deployed, and there's not a whole lot going on down there. It's a big disaster, and it was a disappointment. There's I'm hearing lots of different things. So as far as training goes, what would be the best way to get any virtual hands-on training if you're not with a firm? Okay, that's a good question. Here's the thing. One of the things that I've learned about being a new adjuster is you have to be willing to travel and willing to go wherever the opportunity exists. So in my first 2 years, maybe even 2.5 years, I traveled the country. I literally said to the firms, I said, hey, where do you have an opportunity? They said Maryland, and I live in North Carolina, so I was like, okay, Maryland, I'll go to Maryland. So popped up there, stayed up there for about a year, and then the next opportunity was in Indiana. And I was like, okay, well, I'll go to Indiana. So I lived there for a couple of years, and then the next opportunity was in Louisiana. I went to Louisiana. So unless you're willing to do some of that traveling, and a lot of times it has to do with where their desk positions are available, that's the best way to get into this business. You're not going to jump right in and be a field adjuster. I really want to express that clearly. I've been hearing a lot of notes and comments about people saying, yeah, I want to stay at home and I want to be a field adjuster. Well, that doesn't happen. That's the top of the line position in adjusting, as far as the adjuster goes, is the daily adjuster. And that's someone where they're going to stay locally in their area, handle claims within about an hour and a half of their house, and come home every night and stay in their bed. The desk adjuster position is going to be where you're going to travel to many different locations based on the availability of work. And the reason why that position is available, there's tons of those available. So that's what I'm trying to say, that you have to be flexible enough to go to those opportunities, because that's where you're going to get your training. That's where you're going to get your State Farm training. You're going to get to learn ECS and learn how to be a good adjuster from policy a lot of times. And the reason why is because they're going to have managers They're going to have supervisors. They are watching, and they can ask, you can ask them a lot of questions, and you're right there with them. So it's going to be a great opportunity. Desk adjusting is important because you want to learn the basics first, which is policy, and and a lot of times a lot of the software and how things are paid on the backside, so that when you become a field adjuster, you understand the backside. So yes, Pilot, Alacrity, and Emerald, great. But hey, sign up for every single one that you can. Literally, when I first got started, I was on about 40 different rosters. So you've got to spend the time to make sure that you get on a ton of rosters and don't hesitate in a minute. Hey, Paul, how's it going? Good to see you, man. I haven't been on live in a long time, Paul. I'm sorry. I'm glad to be back, guys. Really is. And Tim, you are a mechanic. A month ago now, I'm working in, and I live near an adjusting firm. Oh, great. Oh, great opportunity. And a mechanic, what? Make $25 an hour a max? And now you're looking at an adjuster making $75 to $100 an hour once you become proficient. So what a tremendous transformation. I try to encourage everyone I can to move into whatever the job they're in, into the adjusting world, because the money is just amazing and the opportunities are there to be self-employed, number one. Get out from underneath that. It's so funny. I mean, we work for the firms, but they don't act like the typical employer. I mean, that's what's so weird about being self-employed and yet still working for a firm, is that those managers leave you alone. Like, I had a talk with a manager today. I haven't talked to him in probably a month. I mean, so I literally don't talk to my managers for months at a time, only when some big claim flares up and they've got to, get a reinspection or whatever. So it's so nice to not have to worry about the managers and reporting in, making sure that I'm on time, and I can wake up whatever time I want, set my own schedule, handle my claims as long as I get them turned in the same day. I mean, I know some guys, they'll work claims in the afternoon, they'll sleep until noon, and they'll start their inspections at 1, 2, 3, and 4, knock out the rest of the day, get the claims done, finish up by about 10 or 11 o'clock. Hey, as long as they're turned in by midnight the same day, they don't care when they're turned in, as long as it's less than a day. And so that's what's wonderful. You got the guy that wants to drink and party all night and wake up hungover and start his claims, whatever. This, I don't recommend it, but it's certainly a great opportunity for every style. Like, if you're not a morning person and you just say, man, there's no way I can wake up before 9 or 10, this is a great job for you, because you can make your own hours. You can start claims at 10, 11, 12, 1, come home, write them till the evening, and you're done. For me, I'm an early guy, so I like being on the road at 7 o'clock and getting my first claim, long distance ones, get those done, be there on the long distance ones at 8 o'clock in the morning, next one at 9, next one at 10, next one at 11, and I'm home by 12. And then I write the claims, go to the gym, make my dinner, and I got all the time in the world. So to me, it works out for me because I'm a morning guy. But for the guys who like to sleep in, it'll work out for you too. So it's a great opportunity. All right, let's see. Tim, thanks for your channel. Yeah, no worries. I'm here to help you. And that's what I love about adjusting, is that I'm here to be a help to you guys. So let's see. Record month for me, 20K plus month. Wow, awesome. Doing daily claims. Paul, awesome. Only been doing this for 9 months. Paul, I am so happy. It just blesses my heart to know that I've helped you. I know that we were talking earlier before you got started, and I've been able to help you, and here's the thing. I don't want to take credit for any of you guys, because truly what it is I'm teaching you guys to be self-employed and understand what the difference between being an employee is and being self-employed. And my channel is there. No, Paul, don't give me any credit, buddy. What it is you have to have the motivation to do this job yourself. I can teach you all day long. It's no different than if I was in an employee situation and I was teaching you how to do a job. But if you did it crummy, then you chose to do it crummy, well, then you're going to get fired. So the difference is that I teach you guys how to do this, and then you guys go out and learn some more, and learn what it is to be your own boss and make your own schedule and realize that you've got to monitor your time and pay your taxes and do all these things. That's the self-employment mentality. And unfortunately, so many people are stuck in this employee mentality. It's a really hard transition to go to being self-employed. It's really, really tough. If you've only worked as an employee, it is so hard to move over to the self-employment. But once you do it and you sit there and you go, why didn't I do this years ago? I cannot imagine, doing anything else because I've done this for so long. I've been self-employed for 35 years. And so I could never go back to work for somebody and have a boss standing over my shoulder and telling me this and that, whatever, and showing up 8 hours a day. I couldn't do it. It's not in my body to be able to do that. So, Paul, you did it because you desired it, you wanted it, you sought it out, and you did the work to make it happen. Now you're reaping the benefits. $20K a month, man, dude, that's awesome. Now, don't forget to take out your taxes. I don't know if you're married or not, but 25% is typical taxes for self-employed is what I typically take out. If you're single, it's probably about 30%. I would rather get a return back if I paid a little bit too much taxes than sit there and have to go, oh, I got 10 grand left to pay at the end of the year because I didn't set aside enough. So what I typically do with my taxes is I set aside a separate bank account so that when the checks come in, they're being paid, gross income, I take 30% off that, put it straight into that separate account, and after a couple months, which I'm supposed to pay quarterly, but really about every 2 months, I have direct access to my account at IRS for self-employment payment, and I just send over an automatic draft over from there. Good. Third, yeah, Paul, it's awesome. Very good. That is really good because last thing you want to do is get to the end of the year and realize you owe another 10 or 15 grand and you're short. It's just going to compound itself and be problems. So, yeah, as long as you understand that process of the fact that you're getting paid gross and you've got to take out your taxes, self-employment does kick you in the hiney as far as a lot of extra payments for taxes. If you understand that part, 25 to 30% is pretty much what you're paying unless you have some massive deductions that you can claim or whatever. Then you set aside that amount and pay it quarterly, and if you get some money back, great. If you don't, hey, it's just part of being in business. But we're making way more than we ever would if we were an employee. So that's what's wonderful about this is you make a whole lot more. Yes, you pay a lot of taxes, but you're still making way more than you would hourly, $75 to $100 an hour every time you work. So why not? So let me see if there's any other questions. Yeah, Jonathan, I remember you. I do. Construction and roofing. Enjoy your roof. Yes, absolutely. From Legacy. No worries. I remember you, Jonathan. Thanks for coming in. I see a lot of roofers. It's amazing. The guys will come up to me, Daniel, you're just your old man. I can't believe I get to meet you. And I'm like, dude, that's so weird. I'm not famous. I'm just out there helping you guys. So it's kind of fun. I only have like 3,100 subscribers, so it's not nothing going on. But I am so excited. The channel is growing. Lately, just in this last month, I had 531, I think it was, subscribers just in 1 month. So I'm excited that this is growing. People are excited to be on this program and they're learning, and I'm helping out people get more, become an adjuster, also learn how to be one. Moving into it, I mean, there's a bunch of guys that got actually deployed through Ian, so I'm very excited. Can you please be quiet? My son is sleeping. Oh, I love it. I think there's always somebody on here who's got a hoot, It makes me laugh. You're just trying to make me laugh. That's what it is. All right, what else? Adonis, it's better independent adjusting or adjusting with a carrier like State Farm. I passed my interview with them. Yeah, so independent adjusting is actually the same as going to work for like State Farm or anything. You're becoming a 1099 employee as long as you can't go directly to the, no worries, Mickey. No worries. So you can't go to State Farm and work directly for them unless you become an employee for them. So that's what you have to remember about that is is when we are adjusters, we're actually working through a firm who then is working through the carrier. So it's a three-part thing there. We are the adjuster, we got a firm in the middle, and we got the carrier up here. So we don't work straight for the carrier. If we do that, we're an employee. And if we do that, we're not making 1099 income. We're just junk. You're going to be an employee making $15, $20 an hour. Work your whole life there and maybe get to about $80,000 a year, and you'll be disappointed and mad because you didn't get anywhere. So no worries. So this guy seems to be somebody who doesn't really want to be in our talking. Okay, we eat chalk in India. Interesting. That's really funny. All right, you guys have any other questions? I am always open to questions and suggestions. So how many people got out there and were working Hurricane Ian claims? Did you guys work them locally, like you're working in Florida, you're working in Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina? I don't think there was any other states that got hit by Ian. But yeah, I was doing a lot there for a while, and then it's kind of slowed down a little bit now. But we're back to the hail claims that happened back several months ago. So which is good, because that's the bread and butter for long-term work is old hail claims. As far as Hurricane Ian claims, it's it comes and goes. Charlotte's, yes, yeah, that's what I'm saying, Tim. It's just dying down. Stuff's slowing down a little bit. All right. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with becoming an employee with State Farm because you can get some really great experience for working with them. What I'm trying to explain to somebody, if you become an employee, you're kind of locking yourself into a very long-term event that may be hard to get out of. Meaning, a lot of those desk adjuster positions that are long-term with State Farm, if you're an employee, are going to have a different mindset than a 1099 independent adjuster. Again, you get stuck in that mentality of an employee scenario. It's like, hey, 5 o'clock comes around, you clock out and you're gone. I haven't quit at 5 o'clock in 30 years. I still do work well into 7 and 8 and 9, answering calls, answering emails as they come in, because I don't want to deal with them the next day. So there's a lot of piddly work, 5-10 minutes here and there that happens in the evening after 5. So an employee sits there and says, okay, I put in my 8 to 5 or 7 to 5 or whatever, 9 to 5 or whatever it happens to be, and they get into that position, in that mode, they're going to have a hard time transitioning into that self-adjuster or independent adjuster stage, because our time is really all over the place, all the time, and it's going to be really hard to kind of feel like we can give this. Let me get rid of that guy. All right. Hold on a second. Sometimes we got people that love to put a lot of junk on there, so no worries. So yeah, if you guys got any other questions, I'd be more than happy to handle those if they're authentic, not like silly questions, because that's not what we're here for. We're here to help the people who want to be good and wise and smart adjusters. The whole reason for my content is to help people become the best. We want to set ourselves apart to be the best. And if we are mediocre, then somebody else is going to take our position if they're better than we are. I think I gave this example several times before, but when you're in a daily adjuster scenario, there are people constantly fighting for the opportunity to come to that area that you live in. And if you're a mediocre adjuster doing kind of a so-so job, and a new adjuster moves into that area and calls up the firm and says, "I want to live in Raleigh," and he says, "Well, we've got a couple adjusters that are handling that area. Don't have anything right away." And then you say, "Well, can you just give me one so you can see my work?" And the firm might say, "Okay," and they'll give you that one claim. Maybe you do a bang up job and do a fantastic job. Well, if they compare your product compared to the guy that's in that area, there's a very good chance they may actually start to wean him out of that area and start giving you claims. Now, they're not going to totally take you out, but they might take him out, but they might start giving you a couple of them to see if you're consistently giving a good product, and then slowly could potentially move him out of the way. So it does happen where good adjusters can take away an average adjuster's position. So keep that in mind. All right, let me see. Got a bunch of questions here. Do I work weekends? Absolutely. I only work Saturdays though. I've worked I work 6 days a week. That's my schedule. So that's the point that I want to state to you guys, is that you just don't get to work the regular 5-day week like typical. Now you can schedule it potentially with Saturdays off, and that's your prerogative because it's your schedule, and push them off till Monday. But if you're like 4, 5, 6 days behind in claims and you're skipping Saturdays, it's going to start looking bad to the carrier that you're really postponing a lot of claims. So I use Saturdays to kind of catch up. When I see my next week getting kind of heavy, I'll put a bunch on Saturday to try and catch up. So I'm only maybe 3 days out on the weekend, or out on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, rather than Thursday booked all the way out. So we definitely want to work your 6 days. It's not a priority or a necessity, but as the more claims you get in, you'll start to see that Saturdays is going to be a necessity just to catch up. So let's see. Truly leaning towards IA. Is it necessary to create an LLC? Adonis, no. I've never been an LLC. I just keep everything individual. And what I do is I have 2 separate bank accounts. I keep everything in my business separate and everything in my personal separate, and I just separate it that way. There's no need to become an LLC. There's too much expense. Now, an LLC, everybody thinks you have to do that so that you're not liable if somebody sues you. My recommendation for that is to get E&O insurance, which you should always have. It's called error and omission insurance. And it's $1 million coverage, and I think I pay like $30 a month or something for it. And that'll cover me for literally $1 million for every claim that's ever taken against me that they want to sue me for. $1 million an event for every claim that's opened. Never used it in 10 years. So that's all you need. That's going to protect you for any liability that the insurance company wants to sue you or say you're a bad adjuster, blah, blah, blah. But if you're doing a good job, you're never going to have one of those things fall back on you anyway, so you don't have to worry about that. Tim, do I use a moisture meter on walls that have wind-driven rain, or just estimate what is visible damage? So that's a good question, Tim. So we in North Carolina are required to use an infrared scanner on walls if the remediation company hasn't been in place already. Meaning, so if I call up somebody and they say, yeah, I've got some water damage in the house, the first thing I say to them is I say, have you called a plumber? And if they say no, I say, call a plumber and get the thing fixed. And that way, the plumber's going to open up the wall, find out what's causing causing the damage, meaning pipe burst, nail in the pipe, or whatever, whatever happens to be. They're going to find it, because when I go out there, I'm supposed to be writing down what was the actual cause of loss. So I want to make sure it's already been cut out, done, finished, so I know what the cause of loss was. Otherwise, I'm standing there going, I don't know what the cause of loss is, and then it just prolongs it, because then they'll have to call out a professional team like leak detection or something like that to verify it. So I always tell them, call a plumber, please, and get that done before I get there. And then I'll ask them a little bit, qualify them a little bit and say, okay, how much damage is there? Do you have like water in multiple rooms? Is there, water on the floor where you stepped on it and it was squishy and it got wet on your socks? If they say yes, then I say, please call a water mitigation company and have them come out and start their process of investigation. And I encourage them and say, most coverages, most house coverages or homeowners policies do have this coverage. So I know we're not supposed to talk coverage, but the standard policy 99% of the time does cover that. You can say most policies have this coverage. If you have any questions about coverage, please call your adjuster, your desk adjuster, to verify it. So you kind of take that liability off yourself and you kind of say, well, please make sure you call your desk adjuster to verify that coverage. But generally speaking, 99% of all policies do have that coverage. So you're telling them to go get a water mitigation company. Instead of you having to use the infrared scanners to check where water is, they're going to do it. They have all the really high-tech gear, and they're also going to be cutting out that damaged stuff before you even get there, which is what you want to happen right absolutely as fast as possible. Because when I walk out there, I want the drywall cut, I want the baseboard removed, I want the carpet pad pulled back, I want all that stuff gone so that I simply have to write the build back estimate. When I see all the stuff that's damaged, I just write the opposite and write the build back. So that's the critical part of making sure that the remediation company comes in first. If they're not there, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to spend a lot of time doing some moisture meters and checking where the water is, and you're going to write an estimate for tear out and build back. And guess what? The DA is going to call you back, which is the desk adjuster, is going to say, oh, our remediation company came out and they wrote for the tear off, so please revisit your estimate and take off all the removal items and only put back the build back. So then you're touching that estimate twice. It's just a waste of time. Because if it hasn't been taken out, you have to write for the removal and the replace. But if they end up bringing a remediation company in, then you got to take all your removals back out. And it's just a pain in the neck. So you always encourage them on the first call. Please call a plumber and please call a remediation company if the damage is significant. Now, you could have them come out and, if you don't have any damage at all and, you're saying, you can have them come out and check it. There's nothing wrong with that either, because the remediation company is not going to submit a bill for just coming to check. If they come and check and there's no damage, there's no water damage for them to report, there's nothing for them to pull out, they're not going to charge. But it's important for you to get at least that step going so that when you show up 2 or 3 days later, fans are running, dehumidifiers are running, and they've already got everything tore out. That makes it easier for you to write that estimate. So super critical, very important. Make sure you do that. Ricky, looking to get licensed and getting busy, but concerned about not having experience. Retired law enforcement officer for 28 years, used to handling difficult situations. What's the chances of it? Well, Ricky, anyone can do this job. Any single person, even a high school graduate, can do this job. I tell people all the time. In fact, I've told this story before, but I had a 98-year-old guy working beside or close by me in my team on State Farm. 98 years old, this guy was. I mean, he was only working about 3 claims a day, but we were doing 25. But it was funny because he had been with Pilot Catastrophe, and he had been with them for like 40 years. He'd worked for them and as a desk adjuster. So this guy, he wouldn't do anything, but he had job security, wasn't doing hardly anything, but they loved him, and he was a great guy. So what I tell people, and most of the desk adjusters, I tell you, most of the desk adjusters that I had were a wide range of ages. They were right from the new guy. I remember a guy who was like 20 years old, college, making $100,000 as a desk adjuster. And then we had 2 retired folks, a mom and a pop. The grandfather and grandmother drove around in an RV, and they're both making $100,000, working, as desk adjusters, both of them traveling, and they're retired, 68 years old or something like that. So it doesn't, and they didn't have a whole lot of experience. They just got hired. I mean, desk adjusting doesn't take a ton of experience. It just takes the licenses, the certification, and being persistent to get on a lot of rosters and just calling people and just saying, I'm ready to go. Where do you want me to be? And they had, they got an RV because they could drive anywhere. And hey, they say they need them in Texas. Well, they got their house. They're driving down the road and they're going to Texas. So that's the flexibility when you're a desk adjuster, is you have to be able to willing to travel. If you want to get deployed, if you want to get work and get experience, you have to be able to say, where do you want me? Okay, position's here, I'm gone. I'll be there tomorrow. And yes, it will be really inconvenient. You might have to leave your family behind for a month or two, but wouldn't you rather have that experience under your belt for a month or two, be able to put it on your resume, and then potentially be able to say to somebody local, if they have a real big need in your area, is say, hey, I was a desk adjuster for a couple months. Do you have any daily claims I can help you out with in this area? And if you live in a remote area that doesn't have a whole lot of adjusters, and they're going to jump all over that and give you claims. So you just never know. The opportunities are there everywhere. Getting assigned cases as a newbie. Any chances of getting assigned cases as a newbie? Like I said, field adjuster is the last step on the road. The chance of you getting deployed as a field adjuster when you're brand new is slim to none. Okay, unless you live in a remote area. Let's say you live in Alaska or you live in North Dakota and there's no adjuster within 3 hours, and you call up a firm and you say, guess where I'm at, Podunk, USA, and they say, oh, we've been wanting an adjuster there forever. We've never been able to get an adjuster. Guess what? You're going to get some work. Now, obviously out in Podunk, USA, there's not a whole lot of claims being filed, so you might only see 1 or 2 a week. But if you could get on to several different insurance carriers, it's a potential that you could see 10 a week, and you can live on 10 a week. So I don't know. It's hard, but when you live in a rural area in a not a populated area, you got to be expected to drive maybe 2 hours to a claim. But for you, who is looking to get in brand new, wouldn't you rather have that on your resume to be able to say, hey, I've got 200 daily claims under my belt, and then you go move to North Texas or whatever, and they say, dude, we'd love to have you. You had 200 claims experience? Yeah, come on, we'll get you some work, because there's tons of work here. So, all right, notice I totally forgot about that. Thank you so much. I don't remember what you were talking about. But, the LLC maybe. Matthew, do you estimate for extra general roofing hours if the home is 2 stories or higher? No, it's actually not roofing hours. It actually has a line item in the roofing which has 2 stories, and for steep and tall is what it's basically steep charges. So it's RFG steep, and then there'll be a bracket on the right for, so if you have just steep, then that's going to be a 7 to 9 12 pitch. If you have arrow like a greater than on steep and greater than, that's going to be a 10 to 12 pitch. And if you have steep greater than, then you're going to have anything above a 12 pitch. So yeah, we get to add that to every roofing estimate that we do, because that's just an added charge, knowing it's going to be difficult for the roofer to put that material on a steep roof. And then the high is real particular. They're so particular about the high charge. So that's RFGHIGH, high. You're allowed to put that only if it takes a 2-story ladder to get to that location, or it's a whole nother level above the first level. Okay, so here's an example. Your first level is a porch. Your second level is the dormer roof. That little teeny dormer roof is 2-story charge available, which is silly because it's standing on a first story to get to the second story. It's just silly. But yeah, I can add that to my estimate as an RFG, the steep greater than, which gets it, the high on that second story. But typically what I typically do is if I am looking around the house and I see a window on a second story, then pretty much any roof that's above that area, that's going to be your 2-story roof. But here's the tricky part. If they can access it from a single story entry, so you see some of these roofs that are 2-story tall, but then they go all the way down the back to a single story entry, meaning like this, like 30 feet long, goes from all the way to the peak, all the way down one big line, all the way to a one-story access. I can't charge two-story for that. So they're just saying it has to be kind of like a two-story ladder that takes to get to that location. So any two-story roof, as long as it's separated from another access to the roof, then you pretty much can charge a two-story charge for that. And that helps a lot because that can bump up your estimate price potentially into the next billing cycle or the next billing tier. So that's actually a really good thing to make sure you're doing that right. Some roofers ask for them and the manufacturer won't load the shingles on the roof. Yeah, well, it's not our business about what the roofer is going to do. He can supplement all he wants for those extra charges or loading. They just assume, hey, that's your deal. I mean, if you can't get the guy to load the shingles on the roof with a machine, well, guess what? You're going to be humping those things up with a ladder. So it's not our job to consider what the roofer's doing. We're only allowed to bill what the carrier is willing to allow, and that's going to be a two-story ladder to get to a two-story roof system. So, yeah, just keep that in mind. We're not allowed to bill what the roofers ask for, only what the carrier is willing to pay for it. So, that is it. I got a stuffy nose, guys. Let's see. I had another guy here that was leaving. Oops, sorry. I don't know where he went, but asking some stupid questions. Bro, you've been exploited. Yeah, maybe. Love your videos. Hey, Ricky, thank you. Yeah, you know what? I'm just glad that I hear these comments from you guys because that was the desire right from the very beginning when I created this channel, was to be a help to you guys, to make you guys learn, to make you guys make some money, and to be the best adjuster you can be. So, Xavier, Daniel, do your macros include commercial material and commercial losses? No, they do not. So I don't handle a whole lot of commercial, and the reason why, let me explain commercial. Commercial typically is going to be a bid item. I've handled a lot of commercial in the past, and I stopped handling them because they were really time consuming. Meaning comparison to a daily adjuster, I can go into the daily adjusting, like to the residential side, I can go into a residential claim, see the damage, write the estimate, turn it in, and never see that claim again. On a commercial scenario, I might have a flat roof system, I might have real specialty roof system, you know, that yes, the Xactimate does do commercial stuff on there, but it may be that the carrier is requesting a bid from the commercial contractor rather than me trying to estimate it out. So what ends up happening is I meet the commercial guy out there. He says, yeah, I'll get you an estimate. And then he's 3 or 4 days, 5 days, week sometimes getting that estimate back to me. And I literally have to wait for that, put it on my estimate as a roofing bid item, and then put it as total. And so I can't do anything with the estimate for like a week until he turns in the bid. So Xactimate macros don't do any good because most of the time those commercial things are bid item. Same thing like if it was metal repair or commercial drywall repair, drop ceiling repair. There's just a lot of things like that where the carrier is saying, why don't you go get a bid for those things rather than you trying to bid them out because your bid's probably, your estimate's probably going to be wrong. So yeah, so it is. I hate commercial. Me personally, I'm like, get this job done. I don't want to see this claim again. I want to turn it in by the end of the day, and I never want to see it. That's how I make money. I make money because I'm turning claims over the same day, and I'm done. And then 3 claims a day, 14 claims a day, just moving it. I don't want to revisit that claim. I don't want to see a supplement. I don't want to see a correction. I do have corrections, but I hate them. I wish I could do a perfect estimate, but I can't. Commercial, fire, all these large losses, all these other things, man, you're hanging. It's keep coming back. They're like a reoccurring nightmare. It's like a nightmare over and over again. Seeing this claim come, oh no, not that one again. So I don't want to see the claim over and over again. I don't want to sit there and have to keep calling the commercial guy and saying, hey, I'm waiting on this estimate. You decide you're going to send it in to me one day? And then, oh yeah, I forgot about it. Yeah, I'll get it to you. Can I get it back to you today? Sure, whatever. A couple days later, no estimate. You got to call them back again. I don't want to babysit somebody to get me an estimate. So the last thing I want to do is retouch that estimate over and over again. So I really like residential stuff because it's just real quick. And then the same thing happens with the big losses, the large losses in the Hurricane Ian or catastrophic damages. Is we're revisiting this for supplementals. The contractor will come back and he'll put in a $200,000 estimate where yours is $100,000, and you got to review every line item that he's put in, waste a whole lot of time, nickel and dime in every single thing that he's put in there, and trying to verify whether it's true or correct or he's over exaggerated. Oh man, what a nightmare! It's just no thank you. I just want to get in there real quick and be done and move out, and that's where I make the money. Is fast in and out, knock these things out every day, and never see them again. So that's just me personally. But yeah, Xavier, you can do whatever you want. But you can handle a commercial, you can handle large loss, you can handle fire every day of the week. It's just not for me. That's not what I like. I like fast and quick, get out, get done. So how are you guys doing? Are you guys working Hurricane Ian claims, or are you just back to waiting around for a deployment? And there's lots of deployments. You got to remember, check out CAT Adjuster. If you haven't set up a profile on that venue, make sure you do that. When I was a new adjuster, I made sure I put in lots of information, resume, experience, everything on catadjuster.com, all the states that I have licenses in, all my certifications. If you look there, if you get your description on CAT Adjuster and it doesn't look very impressive, then guess what? You need to start doing some more training and get some more certifications so it starts looking impressive. And then what you do, and the reason why it's important is because these firms, it costs money for them to post an ad to advertise that they have jobs. So sometimes what they'll do is do a search on that website for an adjuster, let's say for instance, North Carolina. And they'll put a search in and go, I'm looking for an adjuster in North Carolina. And they'll go down, they'll get a whole list of the adjusters that have a North Carolina license, and they'll call every one of them or send an email and say, hey, are you willing to handle claims? So I have actually been solicited by work a ton of times, absolute ton of times on catadjuster.org. Because they're searching for work. They don't want to pay for the advertisement, but they're searching and they're finding people that are actually licensed in North Carolina or wherever. So if you don't have a profile set up, then you're missing out on the opportunity for people to call you based on availability for jobs. So make sure you get your profile set up. Constantly update it. When you update your photo or you update your information, it sends a notification to everybody that you just updated everything, pops you to the top of the list again. So it's actually a really great site. Number one, to find work for people advertising, find rosters to get onto. So you just go down and top 50 guys, you just go ahead and put your name in, click on their link, and get signed up on their roster. And whether you work for them or not, it doesn't matter. Get on a roster. If a no-name firm calls you and says, hey, I want to deploy you to Arizona for a claim, for a catastrophe, and you've got no experience, guess where you're going? You're going to Arizona. I don't care. I would go. For a no-name firm you've never heard of, and then you can write it in your resume and say, I got deployed to a catastrophe in Arizona, and you put it on your resume. And all of a sudden, you'll start getting deployed all the time to different places because you've got the first cat that you were deployed to. They're going to see that. They don't care. They don't even care how well you did. They never asked that. I mean, because my first catastrophe was in Texas, in Abilene, Texas, for a hailstorm. I only handled 20 claims, and I handled every one of them miserably. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. My file reviewer hated me by the end of the job, and I was practically devastated with how pitiful he was treating me. But guess what? I put it on my resume. I went to a hail claim cat in Abilene, and the next hail claim that happened, They called me and said, "Oh, you got experience running a hail claim. We want to do this one." I'm like, "Okay." So it started. Even though they never asked how I did, they never checked up on my manager and my file reviewer, nothing. They didn't check anything. All I had was on my resume. I went to a catastrophe in Abilene, Texas, and they deployed me to another one. So that's how it gets started. So take your first deployment. Doesn't matter what it is, go do it and get your opportunity, get your experience, and build that resume. And then keep doing your training, keep doing your certifications, and start building that resume. Put yourself on catadjuster.org, and boy, people will start calling you. It's pretty amazing. All right, El DeBarge. Hello, Claim family. Hey, welcome in. Awesome. Welcome to our live. Hopefully I can help you with something. Xavier, man, you are the rockin', man, because New York is hopping. You will never, ever have a lack of work in New York. It's killer. Drone, yeah, I have a drone, and do I see a benefit? No. Unless you like flying drones and have fun flying drones, that's the only reason why you have a drone. Because it basically they will not allow independent adjusters to use drones for inspection. They use that as a staff adjuster and pretty much, somebody that they don't want to climb a roof because of liability reasons. A lot of your State Farm guys that are desk adjusters. What I mean by that is they actually have desk adjusters that work for State Farm that are employees, and then they actually go out during the day and inspect some of the claims and then come home or come back to the office and write them as regular staff employees. And they will allow them to use the drones because they don't want them climbing roofs for liability reasons, because if they fall, then State Farm ends up having to pay them through their health insurance crazy amounts of money to get fixed. All the damages that were caused during the fall. So they don't want them climbing, so they will allow them to use drones. For us, we don't have any health insurance through State Farm or any of these other insurance carriers, so they don't care. They want us boots on the roof and to inspect the houses, and they don't allow us to use drones. Now, hopefully, somewhere in the future, they will allow that, but at this point in time, they don't. And it's a bummer because there's a lot of great technology out there that can really speed that process up. Technology can actually decipher between a hail hit versus marring or whatever. So, we've got great technology out there. It's just they're not willing to use it. So I'm thinking, probably another 5 to 10 years when they want to speed up the process. I don't know, maybe. It's hard to know. It's really hard to know. All right. Tell me about it. 10 claims about a week. Got like 4K every 2, not taking taxes out. Yeah, so 10, what I was trying to say is that 10 claims a week as a daily adjuster, you pretty much can live on that. That's probably close to $80,000 to $100,000 a year consistently. If you're getting 10 claims a week, you're doing really well. And just make sure you take your taxes out, take your 25 to 30% out, and you'll do fine. You'll do fine. And if you're not getting any work, then what you need to do is start signing up for more firms, more rosters. Get on catadjuster.org, sign up for more. So if you're not working enough, you're working daily claims and you're not busy, send out a mass email to 25 different firms and say, I'm ready to get on your roster, I'm here in New York or wherever, this is where I am, and good night, buddy. Thanks for joining me. So if you're not getting enough work, just get out there, put your name on more rosters, and tell them that you're excited to work, and this is the area you're working in, and you'll be surprised. It'll pop in really fast. All right, ILR. Yeah, I remember some people working ILR. Florida claims dried up quick. I grabbed what I could. Absolutely. Hey, you got to do what you got to do. Like I said, if you're flexible and you're willing to do whatever's there, you're going to stay busy. And it's the people that say, no, I ain't doing that. No way, I'm going home. Those are the guys going to be wishing that they stuck around, because it's going to hurt them in the long run if they don't if they aren't flexible and they're not going to build that resume. And the whole goal is to build a resume so that it looks impressive when you send it to somebody, to be able to say, hey, I've got 300 claims or 500 claims under my belt, and they're going to start saying, you're an experienced adjuster, let's use you. But if you're out there with only one catastrophe and you only handle 50 claims or 30 claims, and that's all you've done, then the person's going to go, well, I'm not sure you have the experience for the next one, so I don't think we'll deploy you. We'll look for somebody who's got 500 claims under the belt. So just keep that in mind. That's how, literally how the firms look at it, is how many claims you've handled. And you want to get as many as you can. On a row home with a shared roof. Well, Paul, typically you're gonna when you take your photos, you're going to make sure that you have chalked the line division between row houses. So you know how shingles go all the way across a lot of multiple houses and they don't break them. So when you take your photos, you want to make sure that you've drawn a line right down the middle of the house where you believe there's a separation of the house. So there really isn't any extra line items. You're just going to have to make sure you measure to that line and say, this is the square footage of the actual shingles that is on this roof when I'm measuring out the roof. And your photos have to show that. When you take a photo, you want to show where that division is. Weird thing is, like when the gutter is hit by hail on the backside, it's kind of silly because the gutters go all the way across to the next unit. So what, I'm going to cut a gutter halfway through or something? I mean, it's kind of silly, but yeah, you've got to put literally, measure out the gutter and give them that half a gutter, which is stupid because it's a full run. I'm gonna have to replace the whole run, but you can't write for that because it's not their gutter. So row housing is tough, man. When they have all the stuff combined, and you just do your best, and they'll figure it out in the long run. So Ricky, what do you say the startup cost for a new independent adjuster, including the cost of software needed and equipment? So Ricky, I would say, you have to remember this, the software is a monthly charge, and if you're not working for a firm, it's $300 a month to rent that software. If I'm working consistently for a firm, like I've been deployed and I'm actually working for that firm, this is the field adjuster again, which is different than if you're brand new, you're going to be moving into a desk position. If you're a field adjuster, then you can work for a firm and get it as a discount, and I pay about $110 or something like that for that software. So huge discount benefit by working through a firm and getting it through them, from $300 down to about $110. So super big benefit. If you're working as a desk adjuster, then it's already included on your computer and you don't have to pay anything for it. You don't need any equipment because you're sitting at a desk, and you're not inspecting, you're not going out onto the roofs and doing all that stuff. So desk adjusting is the cheapest position to get. The only thing you have to look into is that if you're being moved to an area out of your hometown, then you're going to have to rent an apartment, get a Airbnb, whatever, to try and find a location. Hotels are kind of pricey, so you don't want to go that route, but you could rent month to month, and a lot of times on these apartments or studio rentals, and that's the best way to do it. And then, take as much stuff as you can with you so that you don't have to buy it while you're out. And then some of these deployments are 3 months, so you may only have to rent the place for 3 months. Your food and take all the clothes you can with you, and so you don't have to buy anything. And so you're not looking at a ton of expense, but yeah, there is some, and so it's a little bit more, but you're making really good money when you're a desk adjuster. So if you work all year round as a desk adjuster, you're making $100,000 a year. And so, if you're deployed 3 months, and you just divide that out. But yeah, you could find a good Airbnb maybe for $1,000 or something like that a month, and certainly budget that in. But you just take it out of the expenses that the money that you make, and try and eat frugally, and try not to overbuy. I had a funny story where a lady was sitting next to me. She was young, kind of not too smart. She was having car problems, and so sitting next to me as a desk adjuster when I first started learning, and she says, "What do you think I should do? My car just it's got some car problems, and I was wondering what to do. And I said, well, I think you probably should get your car fixed. She goes, yeah, I probably should. You know, it doesn't have a whole lot of mileage on it, but, you know, maybe I should get it fixed. Anyways, a couple weeks later, I said, so what did you do about your car? She says, oh, I just got rid of it, and I bought a new car. And I said, you bought a new car? And she goes, yeah, we're making so much money here, and this is great. I decided just to go out and buy a new car. I said, well, what'd you get? And she said, I got a Range Rover. And I said, what? And then to top it all off, she said she leased it. And I was like, oh my goodness, she leased a brand new Range Rover? Okay. Well, about 4 months later, she got, you know, moved out of the position, and the job ended, you know, the deployment ended for her, and I ended up staying, but, you know, I said goodbye to her because they didn't need as many people as they thought they did. And I said, well, good luck on your lease payment for that Range Rover while you're not working. So that was not a smart thing to do, but she was bound and determined she was going to get what she wanted because she was so excited she was making $100,000 a year. I said, well, there's no guarantee you're going to be working all year round. I said, you got to be careful, got to be frugal. You know, just because you're making good paychecks now doesn't mean you're always going to be making that. So anyways, it was just a funny story, but yeah, you got to be careful. Got to be careful. You're welcome, Ricky. All right, Bob, welcome. Just started my first proximity deployment, enjoying the NC fall. Oh, cool. You're in North Carolina. Yeah, I love North Carolina. I like the weather. I'm not sure I like the people now because we got so many Jersey and New Yorkers down here now. Sorry for any of you guys that are Jersey and New Yorkers, but you spoil a good southern town. I tell you, you come down to a nice southern town like North Carolina in Raleigh, and you bring all these New Yorkers and Jerseyites, and man, they turn into people honking on horns and speed like they're 90 miles an hour on the highway, and absolutely crazy now. They kind of made North Carolina into a rather what do you call it? Just a rough place rather than a nice, sweet country, down to earth southern town. So, anyways, Raleigh's a great place because there's always work, there's always money, there's tons of rich people, there's always things to do. Yeah, it's really blown up. There's lots. I mean, house prices are crazy. I don't think we'll ever have a recession here. It's crazy. Hey, Paul, you're moving to North Carolina too? All right, well, Triad. Yeah, so Triad's a little bigger area. That's like, what, the Greensboro, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Durham, whatever, big area. But no, it's not really, the Triangle is what they call Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill. The Triad, I think, is way out in Winston-Salem, I don't know, somewhere out there. So is that where you're going, Paul? You're going out to the Triad? Oh, yeah, Kernsville. Yeah, I know where that is. Yeah, Charlotte area. Yeah, so great area, lots of work out there. They don't get as much hail there, but it's still, oh, Charlotte. I love Charlotte. Charlotte's 10 times what Raleigh is. Charlotte should have been the capital, and yet Raleigh's the capital. I can't figure it out. Raleigh's done nothing. But Charlotte has made happening plays, football. I mean, they got a great football stadium. Raleigh's got an okay football stadium, nothing tremendous. But, I mean, we've got Duke and Carolina State, lots of great state, you know, lots of college football and stuff. But just the downtown, I mean, Charlotte blew up and they grew. And when I was going to Charlotte, it's like, dude, it's like every single building had a crane on it. They were constantly building in Charlotte years ago, and just building their downtown and building, you know, tons of residential, commercial buildings. It's totally happening. And then Raleigh's got like one crane, and you can see it. And now, I mean, they picked it up a little bit now, and you know, the North Hills area has, you know, really started to grow. They got one company down there, Lane, I think it's Lane Company, and he got all the money, and he's like, hey, starting to build all this stuff down there. And he's like the smart guy because he's trying to build Raleigh into something really cool. But downtown Raleigh hasn't figured out what they're doing from one end to the other. So anyway, so Glenwood South is a good area if you guys ever want a good place to party, and you know, lots of great restaurants and stuff. They got a whole street downtown Raleigh now called Glenwood South. That didn't exist years ago. And now there's like, I don't know, 50 bars, 50 restaurants, something like that down there. And nightclubs, dancing and all that. Every type of music you can imagine. So it's pretty cool. Hey, Michael, long time no talk to. All right. So cool. Yeah, Winston-Salem's a great area. So the reason why Winston-Salem's a great area is because, and guys, you have to remember this. The some of the best areas to find claims are in some of the areas that don't have, um, basically it's poverty type areas or low income areas. Those are really high claim volume areas. So like when I lived in Baltimore, like I lived in Maryland for a little while and I was traveling into Baltimore doing daily claims. I got daily claims in Baltimore every single day. There were so many of them because typically the lower income people don't have money to fix things themselves and they always assume that insurance is going to pay everything, so they open a claim. And then they don't understand the deductible, like $500 or $1,000 that they have to pay before they make any money. So they'll call in for anything that's small, like a little leak in the ceiling or whatever. Yeah, Kemper, I worked for Kemper too, a long time ago. But yeah, it's funny, they'll turn in claims nonstop. So you get paid the minimum charge on a claim could be, $200, to go do a claim. I do 5 of those a day. I just made $1,000 in one day. I don't mind doing small claims. I walk into a house, I got a water stain in the ceiling. I'm in and out in five minutes. Took my measurements of the room, took 3 photos, maybe 4, because I took a photo of the floor to make sure there was no damage down there. And then I go up to the bathroom. There's no damage in the bathroom toilet or no, jump on the roof for 5 minutes, no wind damage up there, and there's just some leak that came in from the ridge vent or whatever. 5 minutes, I'm done these claims. And then it doesn't take any time to write them up. So I love the lower income claims, the people that have kind of a lower, what I'm saying, like under a $200,000 house, typically, they're going to call in a claim regularly, hoping that insurance is going to pay. They just don't understand that they've got a deductible to pay. And most of this damage is under $1,000. So they'll open up a claim in a heartbeat, and you'll pop out there. So I did a lot in Baltimore. Literally every single claim was under the deductible, and I was in and out in 5 or 10 minutes writing these claims. So those are great money makers, great money makers. It's like here in Raleigh, when somebody calls in a water claim, I've got 3 floors of a townhome that blew out from some stupid water claim, and I'm writing for an hour and a half to 2 hours on some of these claims. I hate those. They're just a lot of work, and yeah, you make some good money, but it takes me 4 hours or 5 hours to write the estimate with 300 line items. I don't like those. I like walking in real quick, doing a quick little toilet leak from the ceiling and knocking it out in 10 or 15 minutes. So yeah, Winston-Salem's kind of like that, where there's lots of areas that could be quick little claims. So yeah, it's definitely worth it. All right, Paul, a lot of those types of people think insurance is a home warranty. Yeah, exactly. They go, hey, I'm paying premiums, so I should be able to get this for free. And I'm like, well, you got a deductible. You understand what that means? No, I don't understand what that means. And then you explain it to them. They go, well, you got to pay the first $1,000 of any claim. And you try and explain it to them. They're going, well, I've been paying premiums for 10 years in this house. Why do I got to pay the first 1,000? And you have a terrible conversation with them, and you're explaining that that deductible. But hey, sorry, my friend, that's how it works. You might tick them off when you're talking about the deductible, but that's part of the process. We got to do it. Yeah, Delaware is a great place to work. Expensive license. Don't ever let your Delaware license expire. It's really expensive to put back, like $800 to bring it back into licensing again. I used to have a Delaware license. So Michael, working New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and PA. Yeah, great area. I worked there before, nonstop. I work DC stuff too. Oh man, it's crazy. Lots of work. There's always something going on. I love Delaware. I was there on the 24th. Okay, is that the 24th? I got a stuffy nose. Working there too. Okay, so Paul, you're in that area too. Yeah, Delaware. Yeah, it's not that there's a shortage there, guys. It's just that it's a very heavily populated area. So just a ton of people live there. And so you know, basically you could have 10 adjusters probably in that area and you'd stay busy all the time. It's just a very busy area. Yeah, and they've got lots of different carriers. A lot of your carriers started up in the north, heavily populated areas, and then moved and branched out. So there's tons of different carriers. So yeah, I worked a whole lot of carriers when I was up there that I haven't worked a single one of those types of claims down in North Carolina since then. So there's lots of specialty type like Kemper and Mika, and you know, lots of different carriers up there that are very prevalent up in the north, and you know, you won't find them in the south. So, all right, Lemonade. Yeah, never heard of that carrier. Lemonade in Hartford. Yep, never heard that. All right, guys. Any other questions? I'm probably going to get off of here soon. I don't want to stay on too late tonight. I did just want to touch base with you guys because I haven't been on live in a long time. All right, 2-story steep roofs isn't fun. Yeah, but the more you climb them, Michael, what'll happen is you'll become more and more familiar with them. I mean, I can stand on a 10, 12, you know, nothing. I can actually climb onto a 10, 12 from a ladder, no issues whatsoever. And then if I have to climb onto a 12-12, not off a ladder, but off of another roof, I can actually stand on a 12-12 as well. I do slip a little bit if I have older pads, but if I have newer pads, I can stand on a 12-12. So my recommendation, you guys, if you're having a hard time standing on the roof, it's all about the flexibility of your ankles. So get in the gym, start doing some calf raises, and basically stand on your tippy toes and raise your feet up and down, you know, get that strength, and then stretch your foot. Put something, you know, like a book, or stand on a book or something like that, and basically bend your foot down so you're stretching your calf. So you're standing on a book or a block or something like that, and then flex down so that you actually are stretching that calf on the back side. If I can do the calf. But anyways, I do a lot of those exercises when I'm in the gym to constantly stretch the calves so that when you're standing on a 12-12, you know, your foot's way up there. The more that you can stretch, then you're gonna, you're on the treadmill, so cool. Yeah, so you've got to keep yourself limber, and I think what you'll see is that the more that you can stretch that foot out and keep it at a higher level, then you'll feel more comfortable. You won't be stretching the back of your calf and feel the burn because you stretched it out and become more comfortable. So then a 12-12 doesn't seem so hard anymore. So here's the reason why you're slipping on a steep roof is because you only have a portion, only a portion of your foot is actually touching the roof line. That's because your flexibility is not there. So think of it, if you can only stretch a certain way, then only the palm of your foot, the ball of your foot is actually touching the roof line instead of the entire the entire foot of your cougar paw is actually on the complete surface of the roof. And the only way you can do that is if you're flexible. So, been 6 years and you're still scared? Oh, Michael, did you ever fall, Michael? Let me ask you that. That would be my question. If you've ever fallen off a roof, I feel like you never really get off of, like if you had a fall, you never really get past that fear. You're always fearful in the future. Yeah, cougar paws, you can't climb on roofs without cougar paws, guys. You can climb, like I wear my regular, like I have loafers, slip-ons, leather loafers, and I'll get onto a 6 with those, not put my cougar paws on, I'm totally fine. But if it's anything bigger than a 6, then I'm gonna put the cougar paws on. And yeah, so that's, yeah, you fell doing a double pull. Yeah, so that's what normally happens when people fall, is that they get into a mode where they think they're super careful and they're super worried, and that's a normal process. And I fell on a double pull too. Problem was the roofer was supposed to be holding the ladder and he didn't hold it. So it was kind of funny. I pulled the gutter off the roof, off the house, catching myself on the way down. He caught me so I didn't fall off the porch. So yeah, it freaked me out for like several months when I was doing a double pull after that. It was pretty freaky, and you know, I was always worried. But the thing that was different about my fall versus some of the other people's falls is that he was supposed to hold the ladder, and he didn't. So I was able to blame him for the fact that he wasn't doing his job. So what I do is I always tell the roofers, don't hold my ladder. You know, I don't want you touching my ladder. I don't want you climbing up my ladder, because if you knock my ladder loose and it falls when I'm coming back down, you didn't tell me that you knocked it loose, well then, you know, I could potentially fall. So a lot of times I will tell the roofers, no, you can't use my ladder because I don't want you to, you know, to knock it loose or move it without telling me, especially on a double pole. Now a single pole, big deal. I'll let them use it because, you know, that way you can wiggle it around, feel like it's pretty solid. But on that double pole, when you've strapped in your ladder to the bungee, you know, when you get off that ladder, you feel confident, hey, this thing didn't move when I got off, but you can't be that confident when he comes up behind you, because he might bump it or move it or whatever, and he won't tell you. And then when you go down there to get off the roof, that ladder could be loose and then you'd fall. So one way to solve it, if he comes up anyways, send him down first. Hey, bummer, dude. You know, you use my ladder, you go down first. Let him fall. And then he can hold the ladder for you on the way down. So, oh man, Michael, you got hurt bad, man. Limping for 6 months, man. That sucks. Oh, no worries. It'll get better. Have you ever worked with a helper with the paperwork? No, Richard, I haven't, because I needed that when I was first to learn. I actually followed a guy for 3 different claims, only about 3 claims. I followed him, and we went back to the office and wrote things together. But after 3 claims of following him, I was like, dude, I can do this. I don't need your help. I can do this. And I was just holding his ladder, and I felt like an idiot out there holding the ladder. But you know, I was like, I can climb this roof. I don't need to hold your ladder. Anyway, so yeah. As a helper, I mean, you do it yourself. You might bumble on the first 3 to 5 claims, but once you do a few of them, you're going to be good to go. And a lot of times, the mistakes that you make on your first claims, like forgetting photos, which is real common, you'll learn real quick, because they'll send you back and say, hey, you didn't get this photo, go back and get it. And you're like, dang, that was 30 minutes away. I got to go back and get photos. And you'll do that once, and you'll never do it again, because you're like, that was a real inconvenience to miss those photos. So you'll learn quick. We all learn from our mistakes a whole lot better. So I had to wait for kids to get off the school bus and scream for help. Oh man, that sounds terrible, Michael. Yeah, that's a nightmare. That is a nightmare, falling off a roof like that. Yeah, mine was like the roofer. When I fell off and hit him, you know, he caught me instead of falling off the roof. He was scared to death. He thought I was going to die, because, you know, because he wasn't doing his job and he knew it. But anyway, so he caught me, and so he probably had nightmares for the rest of his life, thinking he was about to kill an adjuster on the job because he wasn't pulling the ladder. So yeah, FLIR, totally awesome. I don't use it very often. Like I said, I push the fact that I want the remediation company to get in there and do that looking for us. But yeah, in North Carolina, we have to use the FLIR. And that's an infrared scanner, guys, for those who don't know what that is. There's a link in my description for a FLIR that actually hooks on the bottom of your iPhone. And it's just a little box, just yay big, plugs in the bottom of the iPhone and makes your camera into an infrared. It's incredible. It totally makes it perfect. And yeah, so yeah, definitely get the FLIR. It'll help, like if you walk into a situation where the remediation company has not been in there and you're investigating a water claim, then you're going to be required to take that FLIR photo, the infrared, to be able to show where the water moved to, so you can write an accurate estimate. Because think about it, your goal is to write where water occurred. And yeah, you could do it with your foot and, you know, your hand and feel where the wetness is on the carpet or whatever, but it's not really giving a true accurate picture of the drywall. You can't tell the wetness of the drywall by just touching it, or the baseboard or anything like that. So when you take a FLIR, it actually shows the color, red to blue, to show you where that water concentration is. And so then you can snap that picture, put it into your file, include it in your photos, and be able to show, hey, the reason I'm writing, 6 square foot of drywall versus 2, then you could justify why your estimate is that because of the FLIR. So some states require it, some don't. So just make sure you check with your state to make sure if they require it or not. So that's important. Yeah, it makes the PAs honest. Yeah, well, PAs are going to be PAs. You're going to get good ones and bad ones. But here's the thing. With PAs, as long as you're skilled enough to have that conversation with them, meaning you're going to talk with them and go, hey, let's work on this together so we can get the same estimate. Let me know what you're putting on your estimate while I'm walking around with you. And then you might open up a lot of conversation to go, well, why, Mr. PA, are you putting that on the estimate when it doesn't appear that it's damaged? Oh, I'm just assuming that it might be this or whatever. And you can resolve a lot of those discussions where he gets an elevated estimate later on because he just threw in a whole lot of fluff trying to get it approved, when you can have that conversation on the site with him, talking a lot about the damage that you see, so that your estimate is closer when you write it, and it'll save you a whole lot of supplements later. All right. This is my third month as an independent adjuster. I came from being a staff adjuster. I definitely like being an independent a lot better. Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, and you're making more money too, so it's certainly going to make you a whole lot happier. Making your own hours, own schedule. I love that. I mean, I just took a couple, 3 days off here last week. I was just getting burnt out, and I just wanted to take some time off. And it was just great. You know, I just scheduled them out. I told my boss, shut off my claims on the carriers or on the firm's website. A lot of times they have a button where I can just click across or tell them what times I'm not available. And boom, the claims stopped like clockwork, didn't show up. And told them when I was coming back, and sure enough, came back, and boom, the claims started back in again. So it was just wonderful to have the time off that I needed, and then just I'm rolling literally the next day that the day I was ready to work, I turned the claims on the day before so that I could schedule them for the next day, and I literally had 2 claims the next day to fire out, and now I got 3 tomorrow, and it's just literally, it was great. It was a nice break, and I was able to fire back and turn on the claims right on. So it's good. No, I don't go to conferences. Used to go when I was a young adjuster, meaning a new adjuster. It's a great opportunity to network and find some new firms. Definitely recommend it for a new adjuster to go to if you guys are looking to plug in and get work. Also to learn some of your continuing education stuff, some really great conference stuff is happening there. You get introduced to the vendors. A lot of times they have Xactware guys there, which is Xactimate. They'll have HAG certification guys there. They'll have fire guys there. I mean, it's really great. Super good information. You will learn so much at those conferences as a brand new adjuster. And then a lot of those seminars that you hang out in, you can use as your continuing education. What I do is tack on everyone. Like when I went to one as a new adjuster, I think I sat through like 14 different courses. And I literally put on every one of those courses onto the bottom of my resume when I was done. I didn't tell them how many hours or whatever. I just said, oh, HAG certification course, sat through this seminar, blah, blah, blah. And put it on. And every year after that, every continuing education course that I've done, I added it to the bottom of my resume. My whole 3rd page of my resume was all the extra training that I got through those seminars. And it looks fantastic on your resume. And great stuff, so claims, education 101, whatever, you don't have to put the 101 on there, but you can put the title of the seminar on there, and it really shows that you're continuing to increase your knowledge of this claim business. And then when you turn in your resume and it's 3 or 4 pages long with all this training at the bottom of the resume, then anyone who looks at it's going to go, dang, this guy's got a ton of extra training. He's rock solid. Let's hire him. So, yeah. So just go to those seminars. They're great. They're lots of great information. They help you get your credits for continuing education as well. So I'm glad you're going, Michael. Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good stuff. Well, anyways, guys, I am so grateful that I got to talk to you guys on the site. Make sure you watch my videos, like this video, hit the super thanks if you feel like you gained something in value from this. I would love to help you guys out even more. Make sure you leave a comment if you had a question that didn't get answered, and I'll shoot you a response. Otherwise, keep checking out the videos. Got new ones coming all the time. And guys, we'll see you, all right, on the next one. See ya.